Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Velo Podcast. My name is Mike Levy, and today I have questions. Questions like, what's the deal with hookless rims? And isn't the hook supposed to hold your tire on? The answer is kinda, but also not really. And we're going to talk about exactly that today. The hookless versus hooked rim debate isn't new, of course, but the topic was recently reinflated, my guys, when industry veteran, wheel and tire guru and Silca owner Josh Poertner called hookless rims a scam on the Marginal Gain Podcast. That's a show sponsored by Silca that you should definitely listen to because he says all sorts of interesting things on there. But the bike industry, they wouldn't do that, would they? They wouldn't present a new design that's possibly less good simply to have a rim that costs less to manufacture so you have higher margins? They wouldn't do that, right? No, I don't think so. Hookless rims are lighter, more aero, and more stronger. So today, I've got Velo tech editor and hookless rim skeptic, Alvin Holbrook, with me. And I've also got Velo tech editor and hookless rim evangelist, Josh Ross, to answer questions about rims and hooks and tires, and especially safety, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't really understand all this. So these questions are coming from me. Guys, are you ready to talk about rims and hooks and safety?
Can't wait to play this role.
Yeah. Should we talk first and foremost about Josh's wheel over the weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's kind of related because it is rim related. It has nothing to do
It's a hooked
with
rim,
if it's
if I remember
hookless.
correctly.
Yeah, exactly. It has nothing to do with the design. But Josh, I got a text from you on the weekend, and it was two pictures. One was from the top of a road bike tire, and it was just the head of a nail. And I was like, oh, that's neat. And then I opened the other photo, and I zoomed in a bit, and it's the pointy end of the nail sticking out of the top of your rim. Could you explain what happened?
Yeah, so I am right now writing up the review of the Super Record Wireless group set. I have it on a Scott Idect RC, and I am writing the Campy Hyperon Ultra wheels. This setup, I can't rave enough. My God, it's good. Yes, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the point. These are, I believe, the most expensive wheels that I have touched, which is saying a lot. And,
Really? Wait, more than the Princetons?
Oh, that's true. Not more than the print. Let's say most expensive, like standard road bike wheel. So the Princetons are tri-spoke. They're really TT wheels if it's too windy for a disc.
Yeah.
Or a front wheel.
What about those Revolve team wheels too?
Yeah, I think these are more expensive.
Huh. Okay, we don't need to go into that, but
yeah,
either way, they cost a lot of money, and you
They cost a lot of money. And so what did I do? I should say I am not a fantastic builder with hammers and things. It's tough. I have a hard time driving a nail with a hammer, if I'm honest. And I managed to put a 2-inch nail directly through the center of the wheel out the back, as you saw. There was no recovery. It was the first time in a long time I actually called for rescue.
What were you trying to nail the rim to? I'm so confused.
I was at 116 miles. I was feeling so good. It was a beautiful ride. I was like, no need to ride. Like, there was really no more need to ride that bike, but I just wanted to because it's so good. And I had 10 miles to go until home, and just coming along, trucking like 24, 25 miles an hour, tailwind, beautiful. Everything is good. And then, thump, thump, thump.
Oh. Did you see the nail on the road in time?
No,
or
not at
all. Not at all.
It's a road that there's always a lot of stuff on the side of this road, and it's like whatever. You just kind of deal with it. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm running, and we will talk about this. I was running 30 mil tires at 50 psi and tubeless, and I can't remember the last time I got a flat tire, so I just don't even worry.
Yeah. To be fair, like, this has nothing to do with the bike or the tire or the rim or anything. Like this would have put a flat in my car tire as well, you know?
This is just a freak accident. Apparently it does happen. I mean, I've heard of other people that are happening. The physics of it, like it just like I keep rethinking, how do you put a 2-inch nail? Like this is not a small nail, and it has to go. You have to manage to get the point to go right through the center of the rim bed. It's just crazy to me.
I can't even like understand if it's 2 inches long. How does it stay like up?
Right.
You know, like, there
So
are
I have
ways for it
thought
to
about
enter,
this a
but-
lot. My theory. So what if you're coming back, if the head of the nail is facing towards the bike, you ride up on it, and as you do that, it flips the nail up. I don't know, but
I bet it went through the tire first. Like it was obviously laying flat on the ground, of course. It went through the tire first and then got like pulled up and went up through the rim. Either way, I'm curious. So these wheels, you got them to test, and I don't think you've finished the test yet. So just like some behind the scenes, behind the curtain kind of stuff here. What happens now? What do you do when something like this happens? It's not your fault. You literally JRA'd these wheels.
yeah, I sent an email from the side of the road and said I need a replacement. And then
I thought you emailed Campy to ask for a ride home.
That would be great. Hilariously, this being a campy thing, this is like classic campy. I got an out of office reply from the US person that he was gone for the month, and then that Europe would be gone for the next month. So and now it turns out I missed the US person. His out of office reply was still on, and he was back, and I had misread it a little bit because I'm going to be honest, it was a little bit traumatic doing this to these wheels. But there was like 2 months of they're just on vacation, and now like Campy Europe is just out, and I'm waiting to get things dealt with.
Well,
dude,
I am interested to hear how that works out because those wheels are not inexpensive. Imagine if you had bought those wheels, Josh, because people buy them.
Yes, people buy them. I don't know what you would do. Like, it's a $2,000 wheel, just the one wheel. So I don't really know where
that's
like,
crazy.
How that would play out. I think that SRAM would likely just replace it. Their warranty doesn't quite cover that, or maybe it does.
Yeah.
But they have a very just like, if it's broken, we replace it.
Yeah, there are a number of companies that offer that with their carbon wheel sets, like a no questions asked sort of thing. So I don't know if Campy does in this instance, but it would sure be helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if you're a consumer, as far as consumer advice is concerned, like Campagnolo and Fulcrum to a lesser degree are kind of known as having not as good a warrant, like comprehensive warranties, I suppose, as some of the other brands. So if you were to own one of these, they might just be incredulous, because in my experience working in shops, Campagnolo, whenever something is wrong, and rightfully so, like they're incredulous. Oh, this chain broke? We've never had that happen. Like, like that's literally like that was literally a thing. Like we had a record 12-speed chain break at the link. We're like, we want this warranted, and the US person was like, we're gonna warranty it, but we've never had this happen before. Like we've never had to warranty any of these 12-speed chains or an 11-speed chain, and they just kept on going.
Interesting.
Do you guys have JRA stuff happen to you like this pretty often? Like it never happens to me. I never have issues.
Yes,
I would say wood. That's my head.
I would say that my life is a constant rolling collection of JRA episodes, to be honest with you.
It is true. You recently sent me a similar picture on a weekend, which was, instead of a nail, it was just an exploded, destroyed hub.
Yeah. My wheel, I have these Hunt wheels that have been flawless. Man, they have been through a war or two or three. I've had them for like multiple years. They've seen some shit. I've abused them. Bearings have been destroyed and replaced. All sorts of, they're tired. And the rear wheel, the free hub was making some noises, but I thought it would be okay. And then I headed out for this big multi-day loop. And I got about 170 kilometers from home, and I was climbing up a fairly steep hill, and it made a you know the sound free hubs make when they don't want to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good sound. And I immediately knew, because leading up to that, you could feel it through the pedals, like a little bit of like tinging and tanging, you know, ting, ting, tang. It almost sounds like spokes. And then implosion. It's a 3-pawl design. This is 100% my fault. I think what happened is, at one point, like a year ago, I completely wore the bearings out, and then I just like rode it through the winter. You know, I didn't want to put new
As one
bearings in
does,
the
yeah.
start of the winter.
Yeah.
And I think there possibly got so much play that like it may have like done bad things in there at some point. So yeah, basically it imploded, and I had to I was like, yeah, like I said, 170 kilometers away from home, and I had to call again my long-suffering girlfriend to come pick me up. And
Go
yeah,
her.
but I got a new free hub, and the wheels are rolling again. Yeah, that was honestly like the first issue I think I've had with these things, and it was purely through neglect. Like, these have like tens of thousands of kilometers, probably 30,000 kilometers on these wheels or something like that. So
Man.
I can't really complain, you know? They've been great.
Yeah.
I've put a lot of those same wheels. I think those are the deep aero gravel wheels from Hunt.
Yeah.
Right?
40
Yeah,
CGR
and
or Limitless or
If they're like
People wanna know.
Limitless 50s, I don't
You
even
got-
know the name. They're like a big,
I think
tall,
it was
Limitless
before
aero thing.
Limitless. It was aerodynamicist, I think.
It is aerodynamicist.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. I don't even know what's on my own bike.
And I have also put a lot of miles on those and ridden through winters, and they've been fine. And someone once asked me, like, well, are these hubs good? And there's things about them, like, I don't like the way the pawls sometimes you got to find them on their floor when you take it apart. But I was like, well, I rode through the winter, and the only thing I do when I get home from a 7-hour ride in the rain is I just sort of like kind of wash off the bike. I just sort of run water over it and bring it
Yeah.
in and leave it sitting. And I'm like, what else do you want them to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know. I've loved the wheels, and I would only say good things about them. Yeah. And then I've killed 2 tires since then. So Alvin, yeah, I've had a couple JRAs lately. Okay,
Lord.
guys, let's talk about some rims though. Some hookless rims versus hooked rims. And the first thing I want to tell you, full disclosure, a little more than a year ago, I bought a set of hookless gravel wheels, really light ones, really nice ones. And I got them, and I knew they were hookless when I ordered them, but I didn't really really think about it too much. And I never used them because I never trusted them, and I ended up selling them. Yeah.
It's because of the hook?
Because they were hookless, and I talked to
Or
a few
hookless,
people
yeah.
in the industry, and the tires that I wanted to run, fairly wide tires, and, obviously a fairly low pressure, but when you get low enough, you start thinking about burps. You're not thinking about tires
Mhm.
blowing off at high pressures. You're thinking about the opposite kind of thing. So, yeah, like I said, like full disclosure, I bought these rims, and I never really understood what was involved with needing, certain tires and things like that. So I'm going to learn this episode.
So I should clarify, like, I don't really have as much of an issue with hookless rims when you're running tires that wide. Like,
Yeah.
especially lower
Shit.
pressures.
Yep.
Like,
I'm
super lightweight wheels kind of scare me sometimes, especially if they feel kind of flimsy, but
Yep.
that's kind of...
So I'm looking at this from not a mountain biker's perspective, but I mean, I've pulled tons of tires off of rims through corners. And that's
Yeah.
not something that you're obviously ever going to do on a road bike. But on a gravel bike, I've definitely burped my tire before. You're running 23, 22 PSI. So that was my concern, to be honest. And in hindsight, I wish I had kept them and just got whatever proper tires I needed for them, and enjoyed them, because they weighed like under 1,000 grams, I think, for the set.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
How do we dive into this?
Well, I want to start by asking Josh, could you explain, it's pretty simple, but can you explain the difference between a hookless and a hooked rim design?
Yeah, so in the history of wheels, old wheels would have, there is a little, like at the edge of the rim on the inside, there is a hook, and it's just like, you can think of it like, it just gets wider right there. And then tires used to have a spot where they would go under that hook, and then there was a little bit of a depression right there, and it would fit in, and it just helped retention. And that was the whole thing.
The first thing that I want to ask is, it looks to me like the hook holds the tire on, Josh, but that's not the case, is it?
No, not really. It turns out that, I mean, there's some, like, it's not so cut and dry that the hook does or does not, and like people will argue that the hook helps or it doesn't, but really what's keeping the tire on is the like it's a press fit essentially.
Yeah, it's the tire itself. Like if you look at a lot of modern tubeless ready road tires, you'll see that the bead that interacts with the rim itself is like squared off, and that's to like interact with the rim as best as possible. And that's the case regardless of like hooked or hookless like rim technology.
Yeah. And just like your car tires, it sounds like, like the wheels on your car, they are not hooked. No matter if you have like a Yaris or a race car you drive around every day.
Yeah.
They're
or
hookless.
something like a Supra.
Or a Yaris race car, you could, the GR.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
whatever.
You're right. The difference though, that like if someone might make that false, I mean, it's not a false equivalence, I suppose, but like you need we need to be able to put these tires on, like these road bike tires on the side of the road. And ideally you're doing it without a tire lever. Whereas you can't put a tire on to a rim of a car on the side of the road. Like you have to use a hydraulic press. And that's because the tolerances are so tight to make that work.
Yeah. So my question then, Josh, is, are we specifically and only depending on rim and tire tolerances to keep tires on rims? Is that what this comes down to?
Yeah. And so, okay, so this is a good lead in, I guess. I could take this, I could take this hand off as a lead in to say that what happened, if you think when you look at the history of tubeless or hookless, why it existed, is that they said, the manufacturers said, in order for us, we need a way to guarantee dimensional stability. So what that means is that when you think of it, when a consumer thinks of wheels, they think, well, it's a 700C wheel, it's a certain size, like obviously. But from a manufacturing perspective, it gets down to really tiny, and you can't have the wheel shifting around in size. Otherwise, then, and it's the same on the tire side, right? The tires have to be a very exact size, and then the wheel has to be a very exact size. So hookless became a thing because with a hooked wheel, in order to get the mold out, because remember there's that hook that like traps something in there, to get the mold out, you would use a silicone like mold, and so it's soft, and then you would take it out afterwards. So companies decided that, you know what we really need is we need metal molds, and the only way to get those out is to get rid of that hook. And in doing that, we're then going to create dimensional stability, because we know that, X number of cycles on this mold, and it will be the same every time coming out of the, machines or whatever. Out of manufacturing, the wheel is this size, and they can depend on that, and that's why it existed.
Basically, what you're talking about is the ETRTO, which is known as the European Tire and Rim Technical Organization, which sounds like a lot of German people that don't have any fun. But you need those standards, basically, for this to work. Like for hookless to work, it has to be super precise. So I guess my next question, Josh, is...
Hold on. Wait. I actually want to interrupt you there. In order for tubeless to work, so if you have If you have a tube inside of there, then it's pushing against the tire. It's pushing it into the wheel. Everything's fine. So in order for hookless to work, or tubeless to work, then you need dimensional stability. How do you get dimensional stability? Brands would tell you that you get it through using a hookless design. That's the whole thing. And I actually didn't connect that the first time, so I appreciate that.
What brands?
So I have talked to Hunt, Envy, and Zip about this. Oh, and KDEX too. So it's like the major brands that are doing hookless.
I have a stack of tires and a few different wheel sets. And I mean, part of gravel riding is changing tires, I feel like. And they all fit a little different. Some of them, they tubeless real easy. Some of them fit a little tighter. Some of them fit a little looser. And I guess my question is, like, the dimensions right now, they don't seem ultra consistent when it comes to tires on the same rims. So if we're leaving this up to, we're depending on the dimensional consistency of the construction of these tires and these rims, but I mean, I got a stack of tires here and they all fit different.
Yeah, so I have seen Envy tracks this. I don't know, like I've been to the Envy factory a number of times. I've seen all their testing and their thing, but they actually track this. They go and they can tell you these grouping of tires are fit a little looser. They have it on it's like a curve.
Okay.
And they show different brands fit in different ways. And then they test to make sure that it works.
Man, when we're talking about tires staying on rims, isn't that kind of sketchy? Like, it's like all of these tires are on a curve, like these ones in the middle are like pretty good. These ones on each side, I don't know. Like, to me, if everything had hooks, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. There would be no curve. All the tires would just fit.
Yeah, and the other thing, I think for a lot of people who worry about this, including myself, like Kevlar beads of tubeless tires Kevlar's not supposed to stretch. But I want you, like, if you've ever taken a well-used tire, taken it off, and then put on a new tire in comparison, like we'll take one I recently did, Grand Prix 5000s on my wife's bike. Like the well-used tire, same width, same casing, same supposedly everything, like different batch, obviously. That old tire is way easier to take on and off. Like I could easily take it on and off with a hand, and I could not do that with the new set. And that's kind of, I think, one of the worries is that, like, shouldn't you have at least one additional safety factor when those pressures are that high?
Okay, so that is a good time to talk about what Josh said and the pressures, because I have done a little bit of homework, which I don't always do for these podcasts because we're quite busy. But I already knew this, and I wanted to make sure I had the figures. So Josh Poertner, his point of view, in my opinion, is very narrow. Not wrong, just very narrow. He is looking at the absolute fastest from a very specific point of view. The most aero, the lowest rolling resistance on smooth surfaces, right? And so if you look at so I put together a bike and rider weight of 162 pounds, a 30 millimeter tire on a 25 millimeter internal rim. And if you compare the Silca calculator, so this is my problem with the Silca calculator. First of all, it doesn't mention that it is going to recommend pressures to you that are unsafe for hookless. It doesn't say one way or the other. It just says you put in your things, and then it says, here's the pressure. Well, so if you're riding a 28 on that combination, so 28 and a 25, which the ATRTO now no longer recommends. But so if
on a 23 mil, on a 25 mil internal.
25 mil internal.
Yep.
So that calculator will tell you 77 and 75.5 for front and rear. I forget which is, front is higher, I think. And then
who's running that much air pressure? That's
exactly.
a lot of air pressure.
Now, if you drop it to 30, hold on one second, Alvin. If you drop it to 30, it goes to 69 and 67.5, which is technically, you could run that. It is safe, but your sealant won't work at that pressure. Now, if you compare that to Zip, Envy, and Vittoria, they are all in the range, I could tell you exactly, but it's between 53 and 56 PSI is what Envy recommends, and they're all right in there. So you have 3 companies that are like, hey, these are the pressures we think you should run. And then you have one outlier. And I question that outlying. Like, why is that? And I don't think you should run that much pressure.
The Silca tire pressure calculator, at least on the roadside, in my experience, has been notoriously high. Like
Yep.
if you're looking at road widths, it's always like the best case scenario of what you should ride. And my recommendation, and I think I would assume Josh's, I would hope, and the rest of Silca, you start there and then you work your way down, or maybe you work your way up in the odd instance that you want to do that.
I mean, my recommendation would be just to ignore the Silca calculator because I think it's unsafe and out of range. And I would go with Envy, Zip, or Vittoria, all of which are good options.
Yeah, but what if you're
Josh.
running a hooked rim and you can run higher pressures if you really wanted to?
Why would you run higher pressures anyway?
I don't know. Let's say you're on a track.
Well, then that's a different thing. We're not talking track here. Come on, Alvin.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're running, like I put in, like this past weekend, like I did a time trial and I was double checking my tire pressures and I went across everyone. And the Silca tire pressure was the highest one, but it was like 5 PSI higher. It was like 63 PSI versus like mid 50s for the other ones. And I just used that as a starting point.
What if you're a way bigger person? Like, we're all relatively small, but what if you weighed 300 pounds?
Yeah, so this is another thing that I think I have seen play out for riders is that they go like riders go, okay, I'm 220 and I want to ride 28s on a 25 rim. Well, you're like, well, why are you running 28s? Well, because that's the fastest, right? Well, you can't possibly hit, like, you need to run more pressure. So it just doesn't work. If you're 300 pounds, if you're 220, which is more reasonable, if you're like 6 feet, 220, that's not like that's not crazy. And you just need to run bigger tires.
Yeah, but at a certain point, even if you're 220, you're going to hit that maximum tire pressure that is recommended basically across the lineup of hookless rims, right? That's 72 PSI or thereabouts.
Yeah, 72.5.
And so at that point, you can run a higher pressure. I don't know. I don't disagree. I think everybody should be going with the wider tire in general. But I don't know. Like having that limit is a bummer, and it lets you know, like, okay, as the pressures go up, like the tolerance isn't quite there.
I mean, there are I'm not sure how to respond to that exactly. And I guess I don't have to, but like, yes, there is a limit that they're recommending, and these companies have tested it. And I know Envy and Zip, I've seen them do, like, I don't know. I hesitate to say a specific number, but it's like well over. I think Envy stops testing at like 150 or something like that. And like, you know, the crazy high pressures. But there is a limit for safety, and yeah, you got to follow it. But this is the thing. If you are heavier, then you need to go, okay, this is the tire that I want to run on this rim. And then if the pressure comes back and it's over the spec, then you need to go to a bigger tire. And that's just what you have to do. That's just the reality of it. You need to let go of that idea that you have to run a 28 because...
I think the real issue for me here is that it's all fuzzy. Like, there's no, like, you used to be able to just go and buy a tire and put it on your damn rim and pump it up to 120 PSI and enjoy the terrible ride. It was simple, you know.
Josh is exhaling because we used to be able to, life used to be simpler. We used to be able to huff glue while we were putting on our tires.
Yeah. Like, you get a little high, you have fun in the shop. Yeah, it's great.
It's so much harder to drink like your latex tubeless sealant now. Like, while
Yeah.
it's tying.
But I think, jokes aside, I think that is the issue with all of this, is that it is all a little fuzzy. Like there's no hard and fast set rules, like only use this with this. These tires don't work with this. Like companies' tires out there, the tires that are made for hookless rims sometimes, first of all, how different are they than the tires that were not made for hookless rims before? But sometimes it's not even clear if they're hookless compatible either. Like the whole thing is just fuzzy. Do you know what I mean? And
It's
that's
not fuzzy. I disagree.
really,
It's
you
not
disagree?
fuzzy at all. Yeah.
Okay.
They're saying this is the max pressure. They're
Yeah.
saying that you can easily look up tires and say that is hookless compatible, which almost all of them now are. It's
Yeah.
like hard to buy
That's true.
not hookless compatible. My friend who was in the recent Colnago Y1 video, super fan, Mr. Number One, super fan Colnago, he's always like, well, I want to be able to run non-hookless compatible tires. And I'm like, where do you buy these? What are you even talking about? Like, what
I think
hookless
I got a stack
I
right over
think-
here.
Yeah. So when a lot of these rims like first came out, like Envy like did a good job. And I should mention, like, I have had the luxury, like you, of going to the Envy like factory and seeing their testing, and it's very impressive. And so I have a lot of trust in Envy and what they do and the work that they do. They came out, or like, I don't know if it came out like immediately after they introduced their hookless rims, but they have like a list of tires that were approved. And there were notorious emissions. There were emissions that were like kind of obvious at the time. Like Continental wasn't on there until I think somewhat recently. Like most popular tire, like on road bikes, like you couldn't put that on there. And I think it's not like a hookless compatible thing, the tires. It's that like I want to be able to get this new tire that just came out, and I want to know that it's going to work, but Envy hasn't told me that it's approved yet, or X company hasn't told me that it's approved yet. And for a lot of people, like I think hookless or hooked just adds like a little bit more of that like acceptability, or that safety factor, I suppose.
Yeah, honestly, that's exactly it for me with those wheels that I ended up selling. As I got them, and then like it just, I did look up a bunch of stuff. I'm in the bike industry. Like I know things, and I know people. I can ask people things, and it wasn't super clear to me. And I asked some bike people, some reviewers and editor type people, and they were like, oh yeah, those ones should be fine. And then somebody else was like, no, don't use those tires. So and I've had a tire come off the rim unrelated to any of this, and nothing to do with hookless, but it was scary. So I guess I'm a little gun shy about it.
Yeah. And to Josh's point, it has improved. Like Zip has gone as far as to saying, hey, these are our tires. Like these are guaranteed to work. Envy has done the same. Like Envy has the list, and it's a pretty wide list of like what tires you can run on their road wheels.
Basically,
like,
any major modern tire is going to be on that list at this point. And Envy says that the companies send them the tires all the time.
Yeah. I think if you go back even 5 years ago, that was not the case, where like not every tire was approved.
True.
If you go back even farther back than that, like the rollout of tubeless was extremely convoluted. And so like it made no sense to run these tires because you weren't really sure what you could run on a hookless rim. And I think it's improved. I think like talking with people in the industry, I think tire tolerances have improved. Communication between tire and rim companies have improved to make those tolerances better. There's still not really an official like thing saying this is the tolerance that needs to happen that everybody adheres to.
Well, hold on. What there is a
like there is
yeah.
there are standards and there is testing, but like there's nothing
there's a
that really
range
holds
within
anyone
that.
to it.
There is, well, I guess, but come on.
Yeah,
these
cars
major
at least
brands
have
are
like
not
the NHTSA and that type of thing.
It's true, but maybe, buy a reasonable tire and wheel and you're going to be fine. There is a specification. When I talk about the range and the curve of the different fits, it's within that specification because you can't, especially a tire, it's a soft thing. It will never be exactly. So there's an acceptable range. And Envy has just found that some brands are more on this side or some brands are more on that side, and they track that over time.
Josh, what are the pros to a hookless rim? What are the
Right.
claims?
So that's the whole thing, is that I actually got ahead of myself a little bit earlier, and I didn't really go back and explain that, which is to say, you first have to say, we want to run tubeless. Now, if you don't care about running tubeless, that's it. We're done. There's no more conversation about this. Just put a tube in and you're fine. You don't have to worry about this. But if we first go, okay, tubeless has advantages. I never get flats. It's more comfortable. I can run lower pressures. Okay, now how do you make tubeless work without that tube to push out the tire? Well, that's where the hookless comes in. And so I had written this article, I think it was last year, where it was like, what is the point? Because that's the obvious question. Why do we fight about hookless or not hookless? Because there are there's hooked wheels and there's not. It's like, why? And what the brands told me that are doing hookless is that it's about safety. And it's about ensuring dimensional stability. They want to know that they can ensure dimensional stability for their wheels. And so that's why they have gone to hookless.
If you ask a hook-only company why they do a hook or a semi-hook, they're going to say the same thing. They're also doing it for safety.
It is
true. The hook
is
supposed to be safe.
And no one is going to go on record. No one's going to go on record and be like, we tested wheels from X company and they do not hold dimensional stability. I have heard that, but no one's going to say that, and I can't say that. So.
Okay, so aside from safety and dimensional stability, what are the other claims, pros to hookless rim design?
Yeah, so you hear, that's what Josh Poertner was talking about, is that the question on that in that podcast started with aerodynamics. Is it more aerodynamic because it stands the sidewalls up and it makes for a better rim tire interaction, right? Instead of a balloon or a light bulb, you have this straight rounded thing.
The hooks aren't pushing the sidewalls in.
Right. So it's not. It's supposed to be more aero. Josh has a lot of experience in the wind tunnel. If he says that doesn't exist, I'm gonna have to believe him. And I'm not sure that when I did that investigation about the why of hookless, I don't remember the aero being like a thing. It was more of that was something that gets bandied about in reviews and stuff over the years because you hear it mentioned and you're like, okay, that makes sense. But Josh says it's not a thing. I gotta go back to the bigger question. Whatever other things exist, the real reason for hookless is dimensional stability, like being sure that the wheel is the same size every single time, so that it's safe.
According to the manufacturers.
I don't believe you. I just want to be honest and say I don't believe them. I don't. Why can't you make a rim with a hook have the same dimensional stability? I understand molds and having a part of the mold you have to release, but we've been using hooked rims. We've been using hooked rims forever, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't change when something better comes along, of course. But like with hook rims, we don't have to worry about that dimensional stability. The hook helps hold the tire on. It's
true, but the crux of this is tubeless. They work. A hook, and you can be really lax in your dimensional stability when you have an inner tube pushing out on the tire. It doesn't matter if it moves around a little bit. There's little variances here and there. It's not a big deal. It's
or
when
an insert.
You don't have. Yeah, no, that's why. Okay, it's like sometimes I get ahead of myself, so I apologize if people are listening and I'm like, Mike is asking these questions that then I have to go back. But this is the whole thing: if you are going to put in a tube, it doesn't matter if you're, the wheel has to be kind of close or it's going to be a problem. But like there is a lot of movement in the dimensional stability that can happen when you have a tube. It's when you take away the tube and you're asking the tire to fit on the wheel only because of pressure. And then you go, okay, how do we ensure that we need these wheels to be the same size? So how do you do it?
I think you don't. I think you keep the hook on, and then the rims can be like, 100th millimeter or whatever the tolerance is difference. And you don't have to worry about that dimensional stability as much because you have the hook. I don't know, like I love new lighter stuff. Like the rims are lighter. A hookless rim is lighter. We didn't talk about that yet. I think a hookless rim could also be made stronger. The rim sidewall.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that. Like there are some pluses here. I also think tire installation could be easier on a hookless rim, and putting tires on can be a real bastard. So I want that to be easier, right? Like there are pluses here, but the argument that I do not believe from these companies is that it's safer. I don't. And I don't think I will, no matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the
that's
crux
my
of
thing
that.
too, is I just fundamentally, I just have such a hard time believing that, and that they can't make them dimensionally stable, with a hook.
Yeah.
I don't, how do you answer that? Do I go, okay, Envy, Zip, Cadex, Hunt are all not telling the truth? There are people that believe that. It's not like you guys are crazy. There are people that really genuinely believe that. I do not believe that. I believe that companies, when they talk to me, they will, of course they're going to, it's like your resume never says, I am terrible at this thing. It says, you know what I'm really good at? This other thing. And I'm sure that companies are spinning what they're saying 100%, and they should, because that's the game. But also, I do not believe that they're straight up lying to me. And Envy says that they needed to ensure dimensional stability. This is how they did it, and it was a safer system because of it. So,
okay.
I mean, Envy has they'll make other claims about their hookless stuff, especially on gravel and mountain bikes, especially the hookless rim, works against pinch flats better, right? If you're hitting a square edge or something like that, it's better at keeping that beat of the tire on better, on those high pressure impact type things. That's not happening super often on the road, anyways.
Yeah. Josh, our sport is tied to racing. We've talked about this a lot in the past. What does the UCI have to do with any of this?
I mean, they can set a spec that they can set a spec, and so you used to be able to run 28s on a 25, and ETRTO said that was fine, and then it wasn't, and it wasn't that it was totally unsafe. They just changed you could still run. I run 28s on 25s all the time. It's fine. And the reason that I say that is because I also run 50 PSI. If you're running 80 PSI and you're wondering why your sealant doesn't work on tubeless and why you can't keep a tire on, then
just shooting out.
Yeah.
This is come on, people. Okay. Yeah. But the UCI, in the interest of safety, they said, we're going to go up to 30 PSI, and that is going to drop the pressure, and that's going to keep it safer on the wheel. But this all, I want to shift it a little bit, because it all goes back to this thing of when he called it a scam, or whatever he said, it all has to do with the fact that he wants you to run high pressures. Your wheel or your tire is not as safe on the wheel when it's running too high of a pressure. And also, there's very little point in tubeless if you're running high pressure and your sealant doesn't work anymore.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the other thing, is that you've never had an issue with hookless, right, Josh?
True.
on the
Never
road.
had an issue.
Have you had an
Yeah.
issue with hookless on the road, Levy?
Not on the road, no.
Yeah. I've never had an issue with hookless on the road, like with the tire coming off on the road specifically. We are not the average consumer, right? Like, Josh, you're not the average consumer. I'm not the average consumer. Like, even as much as I kind of fancy myself as one, like Levy, you're not either, because you're riding your Stigmata like a mountain bike, but like, and probably your Propel like a gravel bike at that
Like
too.
gravel bike, yeah.
I don't know. I think about the people who like are not. Maybe it's not that they're not as like tech savvy, but they're just not as like aware of
Yeah.
what's going on out there. They don't know what they don't know, and then they put a tire that they shouldn't on their hookless wheels, and something happens.
Alvin, that
Like-
was me. That was literally me when I bought the hookless gravel rims. I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a
Yeah.
problem because I didn't use them. But
Yeah.
that was me. I bought them. I wasn't sure. I didn't trust them. I sold them because I wasn't sure. And I was getting different stories coming in from people who know things. And I was just scared. So I got rid of them. And like, I mean, that's why we're talking about this is I feel like I don't know a lot of things, but I know some bike things. And if I'm nervous, lots of other people are probably more nervous.
Yeah. I'm totally cool with hookless on gravel, to be clear. Anything over like a 32 mil wide tire, you're running a lower tire pressure, as Josh is saying. The safety factor isn't quite as big of a deal. I think it's a-okay. And I would have my, I don't know, like my brother who like likes riding bikes, doesn't care about tech. Like, I'm not worried about the person who's buying the new set of hookless wheels from the bike shop, because they'll have hopefully some sort of guidance saying this is the tire you need to pair it with, or most likely they're going to be spent, because they're spending big dollars, they're going to put in some sort of investment. I'm worried about the third owner of these wheels like 10 years from now that are just like, yeah, I got my, which is what I was doing when I was 16, is I got like my GPME wheels that were like takeoffs from a Cannondale CAD 7. And then I got my tires that were from the Bike Kitchen that were like, I was the third owner of, and they're like starting to show cords, but I couldn't afford anything else because I was in high school, and I was putting that shit on. Like, I
There's
don't
a
know.
fair critique in there, because there's two things that I sort of intentionally don't talk about. Is when I go just run bigger tires. Well, yeah, except that what if you have a frame even from like 5 years ago, and it's like your max tire is 30, and it's like, you can't fit a hair in that next to a 30. You really your max is about a 28. Or you go, okay, the pressures and the things, like I just can't fit the tire that would work in my frame. Oh, and also I need and I go like, use quality wheels and quality rims. Okay, those are like, we're talking about expensive stuff, expensive tires, expensive wheels. And that is true. That there's nothing I can say about that.
I kind of see hookless, and I think if you're like into motorsports or like expensive cars, you'll kind of get this. Like the high-end Porsche GT3s, like the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, comes with, like, if you look at a standard car wheel, it has like a set of lugs. It'll either have 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 lugs there. The Porsches and some BMWs and other supercars and hypercars have what's called like a center lock hub. And so instead of the like those lugs, they have this center locking thing. And so to remove the wheel, like, it's not any less safe, but it is a pain in the butt if you're not like someone that has all of these specialized tools, or the know-how. And someone who's buying like a second or third hand like Porsche GT3 RS isn't like, they're going to know all these things, but like the level to get in at these wheels is like multitudes easier. Like, anyone can buy one of these wheels.
I have a question about OE equipment. These days, Josh, how many bikes are coming from the factory with hookless wheels? Is that a common thing?
Good Good question. Actually, yeah. I mean, it depends on what wheels are shipping with them. Is it coming with zip wheels? Then yeah, it's probably hookless.
Giant
Envy
does it with their carbon
Yeah.
wheels.
Right.
So Giant / Cadex, they get hookless rims as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cadex is also like pretty conservative, I would say. Giant in general as a
They
company
are
is pretty
crazy
conservative.
They
Yeah.
are like the tires that work are ours.
Yeah.
And like, you can look at their list. I haven't looked at their list in about a year, so maybe there's more. But it was like some like tires, like weird tires that you don't really know or you're not going to run, and then Cadex tires.
Yeah.
Now, Cadex
and
tires are great, but like, yeah, that was.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily pushing like a ETRTO rim width standards. Or
Yeah, that's right.
something
They're
like
running
that.
23 mil internal, which is another thing. It's just easier to make this all work if you run narrower rims. It's not as comfortable, but
So, Josh, regardless of what I think and what Alvin thinks, where are we going with rims? 5 years from now, hook is gone?
yeah.
Is that what you see?
So I think this is like, I don't think no one has told me this. This is just, here's my intuition. You guys can mark it down. Give me a hard time if I'm wrong. But, Envy released those new wheels that for Tade for the Tour. They're ultralight. They're an Envy 4.5, but they're ultralight. And
4.5 Pro.
Yeah, the 4.5 Pro. And they wanted to furthering that ultralight. They don't want to run. The UAE didn't want to run 30 millimeter tires because 30 millimeter tires are heavier than 28s. They want to run 28s. So we're dealing with UCI, ETRTO, and so Envy put hooks in. But here's the interesting thing about that, and Reserve does this also. Those aren't real hooks. You can't run a hookless compatible, or a tire that's not hookless compatible. You can't run. So don't think of them like hooks. They call them micro hooks. They are there. They basically fit the letter of the law in terms of the UCI for what constitutes a hook. But now they have it. And here's the thing that the reason that I mention all of this is because what Envy told me, and I have seen this happen just like them, is they said, yeah, we figured out how to make this work. But basically, they're just squeezing the mold out. They're still using a hard mold, but they just squeeze it out. And that's why the micro hook works. And they said, right now, it's expensive and it's really time intensive, right? Time equals money. It takes longer in manufacturing. So right now it's expensive. But they're like, we're probably going to figure this out and make it faster. And they didn't say this, but I would bet money that the next version of their SES lineup of wheels, that's their high-end wheels, will have these micro hooks because there's not really a disadvantage except for production, and they've now figured it out. And that doesn't mean that hookless before wasn't safe or whatever. It was just the technology shifts. They had a way to do it before, and they needed to do it hookless. Now they've learned a new way to do it with a micro hook. All right, everybody, jump in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alvin.
Okay. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen a quote unquote mini hook, which is different depending on the brands. Like Black Ink does it, Oakwo does it, Reserve does it, Fulcrum has it. I believe Campagnolo probably has it too. Fulcrum has it. Like those, I don't know. I think you didn't ask me, Levy, but I think the future is hooked to some degree. Maybe a smaller hook, but a hook.
Can I just say, I just want to point out that we went from hooked wheels to hookless and back to frickin' hooks. And Josh, you're telling me that it's because UAE wants to run lighter tires. It has nothing to do with safety or anything. We're just back to hooks.
Yeah, but okay. I understand when you lay it out that way, it sounds ridiculous.
That's what I said when it came out. I was incredulous when these wheels came out. Like,
you should be incredulous.
Yeah.
You have to understand that technology, like, because they didn't have the technology before does not mean that they were holding out in some way. They didn't know how to do it. They figured out how to do it. Right now, those wheels are $1,000 extra. So
I
they're
gotta
like,
pay more money to go back and get hooks.
Dude, that's again
Oh.
Porsche. Like, oh, I have to spend more money for insulated glass on my windows? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
whatever.
understand. I understand what you're saying, that things move
Yeah.
on and
Yeah.
things evolve, technology changes and stuff. But man, it is hard not to be a little salty about this. You know, I feel like someone is trying to sell me something.
I mean, they are trying to sell you something. That doesn't mean there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with it. They wanted to make the
No.
best rim, and you could think about whatever company. They wanted to make the best rim possible with the technology they had at the time, and they also have to meet price points. Even Envy has to meet price points. They're not lightweight or whatever email we got recently. Tune, that was like just crazy expensive, right? They're meeting price points, and they're like, okay, how do we do this? And how do we make the best, safest possible thing? They're like, okay, we're going to take the hooks away because that means we can ensure dimensional stability. Well, now, how many years has it been? A number of years has passed, and they go, actually, you know what? We can put these micro hooks on there, and we can still get our metal things out. And now we just have to figure out how that's, how do we bring the price down? How do we get faster at doing it? They'll figure it out eventually. But the point of all that is to say that I predict that Envy is the canary in the coal mine. I think that they're going to figure out how to do it better with new technology, and they're going to bring that price down where they want the SES wheels. And then then you have Zip. You really have Zip and Envy, right? There's KDX and Hunt, but both of those brands are quite small. And so the big people in the room are Envy and Zip. What happens if Envy comes out with their new micro hooked wheels, and is Zip going to stand alone and be like, yeah, we think Hookless is the best? I don't see that happening.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because I think the future is going to be more like wheel and tire pairings. Like there's going to be a specially made tire for this wheel, because aerodynamics with regard to tire and rim is only going to get more important. Like you can look at maybe a little bit of a tangent. You can look at like aerodynamics of like frames, like people kind of got that dialed. Then they got in leading edge stuff like the handlebars and that type of thing, which is partially why we see all these one-piece handlebars. We've got the rim stuff going on. We've had the idea of the 105%, right? So like the tire width is like 105% of the max rim width or something like that. Like, I think there's going to be more attention paid to those combinations of like smoothing that even more. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like hooked rims alongside that, but I would be surprised at this point, because Zip has wholeheartedly gone hookless if they switch back. Unless we as the media, and then also like consumers, decide we're not buying those anymore, which isn't the case. People are still buying Zip wheels despite all the bad press.
And I would argue that the bad press is not actually correct. So every time I try to find, and people find me online, hit me up with your story. If you got details about your tire coming off, what rim, what tire, how it happened, what pressure you were running, I will investigate it. I always ask this. Every time I follow up with people, it never pans out. And when that big, there was, what was that, 2 years ago now, that the tire came off the Zip wheel, and it was this big thing. Everyone was like, it's hookless. It wasn't hookless. They destroyed that wheel.
Yeah, the wheel
tire came off.
That's why the tire came off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it turns out if you wait a little bit of time and then you get the actual pictures and the receipts, that it didn't have anything to do with hookless.
Would the tire have come off if the rim was hooked?
Yeah. That wheel was destroyed.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Well, I personally hope that we see hooks, mini hooks of some sort. I think that it gives consumers confidence. I think that it makes it cut and dry and dead simple that the tires work no matter what. There's none of this like system bullshit. You need these tires to work with these rims just to work. That's what I want.
Yeah. I would like to see at the non-pointy side of the spectrum, like just kind of mid-level wheels, just go hooked all the way, just to remove that variability, let people kind of just do whatever pairings they need to and that type of thing. If you're looking for the utmost in performance, then Brand is saying that a hookless is the most performant and you trust their like claims. I don't really have a problem with that. So
I'm looking at the pictures. I had to do it. I'm looking at the pictures of that wheel. There is no freaking way that a tire would have stayed on that wheel. Come on, people.
It is pretty crazy. Like you're running like the Vittoria airliner, you're doing like the 28 on the 25. But as a result, like when I went to the tour last year, like Lotto, formerly Destiny, was running 30 mil tires with tubes, with butyl tubes as a result. Like they were freaked out, and they should theoretically have as much, if not more, access to data than anyone else. And they opted to run like the heavier, like a considerably heavier combination in a butyl tube, or it could have been a latex tube, but it wasn't a TPU tube for sure.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Josh, I don't think you've changed my mind, and I don't think you've changed Alvin's mind, to be honest. But
I haven't changed anybody's mind. This is what drives me nuts. It's like, come on, like things change, people.
For everybody that's
as you
listening out
said,
there,
which is why Envy might go back to hooks.
Yeah. For everybody that's listening out there, let us know in the comments under this video or in the podcast. Is your mind changed about hookless? Are you a hookless believer? Maybe you were already a hookless believer, and I've converted you back to hooks. I don't know. I have no idea, but we're interested in getting feedback on what you guys think and what you've been using. And also, I'm curious, like, is that a factor today, people buying new wheels? If you're going to go buy a new wheel set, is it going to be hookless no matter what? Or are you specifically looking for hooks? So let us know in the comments below. Tell us if Josh is wrong. If I'm wrong, don't say anything. It's okay. Don't put it in the comments.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Just don't comment on how I
they're
look.
all going to say that I'm wrong. I promise you guys are going to be safe.
I hope so. All right, everybody. I hope you liked that discussion about hookless rims versus hooked rims, and we will see you next episode.